Hello, New Hyde Park, Garden City Park. It's Dr. Morrison, and I promised you an update today, so I want to share our preliminary reopening plan with you. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, there it goes, and I want to talk with you about the reopening plan. So, Long Island is currently in phase 4. The Long Island rate of infection is currently below 5%. And according to Governor Cuomo, if this holds true through the first week of August, it is expected that he will open schools. So we need to be prepared. To do so, we have had a design team working together to prepare our reopening plan. This is the groups of people who have been meeting over the last few months to talk about what it would look like if we were to come back to school. The documents that we refer to are all formal guidance from the CDC, the New York State Department of Health, and the New York State Education Department. And mostly we focus on the CDC guidance. So we want to start with health and safety. The CDC guidelines that will be followed in our schools include social distancing, face coverings, and hand hygiene. So as far as social distancing, there will be 6 feet for each student in each classroom. So we will be social distanced by 6 feet. Students will wear masks in common areas such as the entries, the hallways, dismissal, buses, restrooms. They are not necessary if socially distanced within the classroom. Adults will wear masks all day unless they are socially distanced from others. We will be emphasizing hand hygiene through hand washing and sanitizing, and students and staff will be trained on proper hand washing techniques and frequency. Ample supplies will be provided in classrooms, bathrooms, and hand sanitizing stations. We are going to use a method called cohorting when we reopen our schools, which basically means that we are going to have a group of children together all the time. They're not going to mix with other students. And we will assign a particular teacher or teachers to that group. This will help us minimize exposure for students, teachers, and staff across the school environment, reduce contact with shared surfaces, and facilitate more efficient contact tracing in the event of a positive case, which will allow for targeted testing and quarantine and isolation of the particular cohort. We are also going to be using a COVID app, which will be the way that we check temperatures and have a daily health questionnaire completed. So what we're going to ask is that every family download an app and every morning answer the health questionnaire and perform a temperature check and report that to the teacher before entering a bus or a building. The district will post signs in highly visible locations to promote everyday protective measures and describe how to stop the spread of germs. As far as seeking assistance from the nurse, 1 room will be designated for healthy people, and 1 room will be designated as an isolation room for any sick people. If there are any concerns regarding COVID-19, the nurse will inform the Department of Health. If someone in a classroom is tested and COVID-19 positive, all parents of the students in that classroom will be informed, and of course we follow the directions of the Department of Health. As far as the community use of schools, all community use of facilities are disallowed until further notice. So that means outside organizations will not have access to our school buildings at this time. The district has begun to approve field usage. As you know, our fields have been open for probably about a month now. As far as cleaning and disinfecting, high-touch surfaces that includes doorknobs, hand railings, etc. They will be continuously wiped down throughout the day in the school buildings. Electrostatic sprayers will be used to disinfect quickly in all areas. These are basically spray guns that have hospital-grade disinfectant solution in them. They're sprayed throughout the classroom, and in about 3 minutes, the room is disinfected. Logs will be maintained and will be visible so that teachers will be able to see the date, time, and the scope of cleaning that occurred for their classrooms and their ventilation units. Additional cleaning staff will be assigned to each building during our school hours to assist with cleaning and sanitizing. The district's architect and HVAC contractors have been consulted to increase and improve ventilation at all 4 buildings. They've actually been here today and they were here last Friday, so we're hoping that they come up with some good solutions for us. And of course, open the windows for fresh air. As far as transportation, I know that there aren't many students who qualify for transportation in the district, but if your child does, parent drop-off and pickup is encouraged. And this is actually a recommendation of the Department of Health. So we encourage that parents drop off and pick up their children. We are actually going to send a survey to those who did qualify for busing and ask them if they intend on using the busing for the school year. That will help us with planning. All students and staff will wear masks on the buses. All students will have their temperature checked and COVID-19 screening app completed by the parent before boarding the bus. Students will sit in marked seats. They will fill the bus from back to front. They will exit the bus from front to back. And buses will be disinfected after each run. Right now, we're looking at 1 child per seat, unless they're sitting with a sibling, and they have to wear a mask. Something new this year, if you're in person, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this because we're going to give you 2 choices. Families, you may either choose in-person learning, which is 5 days a week, or you may choose remote learning, also 5 days a week. I'll give you some details on both so that you can make a choice, because we need you to make a decision by August 2nd as to whether or not your child will be attending school in person or attending remotely at home. This will help us greatly with our planning, especially when it comes to the space in the school building. Our arrival time has been adjusted for students to be 9:10. This will really help us in the mornings because we are going to give teachers their prep first period so that they are available to help with any issues that we may have, and it helps them prepare for the day, and it gives us additional time to clean the buildings in the morning if necessary. We will have designated entrance and exits for students. So the entrance and the exit that you are used to using might not be the one that your child would be assigned to. That would be more of a building level plan. Right now I'm trying to give you the overall district view. Again, parent drop-off and pickup is encouraged. This is going to be all hands on deck. We need help from everyone. Our teachers will monitor that healthcare app I referred to, and they are only to bring students who are cleared for entry into the school building. There will be no entry without completion of the health questionnaire through the app. Students without a temperature check by their parents upon arrival cannot enter into the school. The student and parent will then be directed to an alternate exterior door location to be screened by the nurse or staff member. In the event that someone doesn't have an adequate face covering, we'll provide it. Every student and staff member attending school in person will be provided 2 cloth face masks by the district, and they're really cool looking. Students will walk directly to their classrooms, maintaining 6 feet of distance from any other child or staff member, and they will be required to sanitize their hands upon entering the building. So we'll have sanitized stations there where children can take a pump, scrub their hands, and go into their classroom. This is a little different also this year. We changed where I said we changed arrival to 9:10. We changed dismissal to 2:15. The teacher's lunchtime will be at the end of the school day. So they will be in the classroom with the children from 9:10 until 2:15 every day. This helps with the cohorting. This is a way that we do not need additional staff to rotate into the room because lunchtime will be with their teacher. Students will stay with their teacher during lunchtime. Students will also stay with their teacher during recess. So they will be together all day. This cuts down, again, like I said, on the number of people who are in contact with one another. There's no need then for us to have a space for teachers to leave the classroom to go and eat. They may eat their lunch in their classroom with their students, and it allows for an additional 50 minutes of cleaning at the end of the school day. We'll work with any child who has an allergy who's in our classrooms. And there'll be aftercare available to each elementary school through the YMCA. Okay, I'll talk to you a little bit more about the in-person school day. As I said, arrival 9:10, dismissal 2:15. The maximum class size is based on the size of the classroom. So we have pretty big classrooms. They are 30 by 20 square feet. We are fitting in the room right now an average of 18, an average. That means that some classrooms may be a little bit bigger and can fit more children. Some classrooms are smaller, so there will be fewer children. This is why your participation in the survey is very important, because once we have the number of students who will not be returning to school, it will help us better plan for in-person instruction and the spaces that we need to accommodate the children who will be joining us here. So when we sent home the survey, we had about a 65-35 split. Parents were 65% sure, well, they weren't 65% sure, 65% of the parents wanted to send their children back to school. 35% of the families were saying that they weren't sure, or they wanted to keep their children home for remote learning if it was an option. Okay, so if you could please fill out the survey, I will send it to you by tomorrow. And we need, again, response by August 2nd. I know it's a fast turnaround time, but we do not have a lot of time before the first day of school. Okay, no visitors will be allowed in the building at this time. I'm really sorry, but all those wonderful things that we love to do going into our students' classrooms and sending in, coming in and visiting and reading to our children can't happen at this time. Special education services, OTPT speech, counseling, they'll all continue as written on the IEP where feasible. That means if we can do them in person, we will. If not, we'll have to do them remotely, even when the children are here in school. Integrated co-teachers and aides will continue to provide support between two classes. So if your child is in an integrated co-teaching class, the special education teacher is shared between two different classes. So that will be an instance where you have a teacher who is shared between two different classes. Same thing with the aide that's assigned to that class, those two classes, that person would be flipping back and forth. Lunch will be in the classroom with the cohort teacher. We're asking for brown bag lunches rather than lunch boxes, because the children can dispose of the bag after they're done eating. And that's really encouraged. That and very easy to open food is also a request. We'll clean, of course, all the garbage cans will be emptied after lunch. Please emphasize that children shall not share their food. And hot lunch will be delivered to all classrooms. Recess will be outside when the weather allows with the cohort teacher. We are also going to, of course, encourage outdoor education, outdoor learning, outdoor spaces, leaving the room, because between 9:10 and 2:15, that's a long stretch for children to be in a classroom. So we encourage people to get out and enjoy the fresh air. Monitors are going to be assigned to the hallways. They will be assigned to classrooms in between transitions. They'll just stand in the hallway when when children need to when children need to leave. They will help. When they go to the restroom, they'll make sure they get there. They'll make sure they get back. They can keep an eye on the restrooms when they need to be cleaned. They're also going to help relieve teachers for bathroom breaks, phone calls, etc., mask breaks. Students will receive their special area courses. This is the plan for right now. Like I said earlier, this could change. As for right now, this is the plan. So students receive their special courses, the special area courses, art, music, phys ed, project lead the way, coding, library via remote. So the cohort teacher will stay in the classroom. The special area teacher will remote learn into the classroom from their computer in an office in another part of the building. Kind of calling this phase one. This is just the start. This is where we have to just get ourselves back into the building, get acclimated with this new normal, and try to figure out what the next steps are. So, initial plan. Field trips at this time, they are canceled. They've all been canceled until further notice. And all large group events have been canceled until further notice. I'm going to talk a little bit about remote learning. So we're working on purchasing additional Chromebooks so that we have a one-to-one, so every child will have a Chromebook, and every teacher would have a Chromebook. We will ensure that everyone has connectivity. So if there's anyone out there who needs connectivity, please let us know. We've worked with several families and helped children get connected to the internet when we were closed down. We are going to ask you to please commit to either remote or in-person learning through our first, I'm going to say trimester, okay? Our first trimester, which is right about the beginning of December. The reason for this is once we have the numbers in for the number of children who are going to be on remote, it helps us plan for the children who are going to be here in person. At any time, a child who is in person can move into the remote class. It is very difficult to get a child out of remote and into an in-person class that has already been accounted for and configured and at social distancing guidelines. So we are asking that if you do choose remote, that you stick with it until December. What may happen is if you did need your child to come back into in-person, if there wasn't room in your school building, that child may need to attend another school building that has the space. Okay. All right. Another thing to tell you about remote learning is we noticed in the survey that there were a number of students in one particular school building. There were about 13, and there were about 9 in another school building. So what would happen is we would combine the 13 from building A and the 9 from building B and make a class, which would be a district-wide class. So you would get a teacher that would be assigned to that remote learning class who would be from possibly a different school. So that would be something else to take into consideration. What we will be doing is making sure that the teachers are following the same pacing so that if we were to go back and forth between in-person and remote, that your child could come back in and wouldn't be so far off from what they were learning in person from remote. Hope that made sense. Okay. So, please know at any time it could happen that we are mandated to close and that we would move from in-person to remote learning. It is really important for everyone to have a child care plan. It could be at any point that something happens and we have to close down. So if that were to happen where we have to close the schools and go from in-person to remote, it could happen within a day. And at that point, our teachers would no longer be in person. Everyone would be remote. So please, please, please take the time to plan for childcare if this were to happen. We heard you when it came to remote learning. Parents gave us feedback and said that, you did a great job. Teachers, thank you so much. We need a little bit more live instruction, and that will happen daily. It will also be video and recorded lessons, but for the most part, it will be live, and you will have a schedule where it starts at 9:10. Students will have lunch in the afternoon for about 50 minutes. They will also have a special, and they will have dismissal at 3:05. So they will be on the schedule. Our lessons could be mini lessons where a teacher teaches for 10 minutes and then tells some of the students to turn off and work on something and works with small groups. So this is what our committee, our remote learning committee, has been working on because we really took your feedback seriously. And this is something that we want to make sure is even better than it was over the break when we were home. For anyone who is on remote learning, we will be distributing lunch. So we will get in touch with you regarding that, regarding the pickup times, the schedule time, and locations. We'll communicate that with you. As I said, teacher assignments are to be determined. We do not know which teachers will be teaching remotely. We do not know at this point who's assigned to classroom. It all depends on the numbers, which is why the survey responses are so important. So please, as soon as you see the survey tomorrow, if you could send it back, we'd appreciate it. We will be planning for staff and teacher absences. This topic is pretty tough. We have to figure out what's going to happen if an in-person teacher has a day off and how we're going to handle that in our cohort. We're working on it. It's a work in progress. This plan is definitely going to change as time goes by. In the classrooms, the students will be set up to be 6 feet apart. We ordered an additional 250 desks because we had a lot of tables where children collaborated. We can't wait to go back to that someday, but for right now, we are going to be separated. Students, teachers, and staff are to wear masks at all times when they are unable to social distance. When socially distanced and seated at their desks, students may remove their mask. Students will remain in their classrooms with their teacher for the 5 hours, 5 minutes when they're in person, and monitors will be in the hallways to assist students and teachers. So as far as the hallways, there will be a schedule for classes to move through the hallways to recess, so we won't have crowding. Our hallways, for the most part, measure 8 feet wide. So students and teachers may walk in both directions. There was guidance about clearly marking directions like they do in ShopRite, where you have to go up one aisle, come down another aisle. CDC was saying you needed to do that in the hallways, but because we have a wide enough hallway, we are able to have the students walk along the wall, single file, in each direction. So that's how we'll be moving in the hallways. And we'll have 6-foot markings to support social distancing. Need to talk to you about the school calendar. So to help with dissemination of health and safety plans and with the implementation of in-person and remote learning, we are going to add 2 additional superintendent's conference days for professional development for our teachers. So we originally had September 2nd and 3rd planned for our teachers, and the 8th was going to be the first day of school. We are now going to designate the 8th and the 9th of September as superintendent's conference days. So right now, the first day of school is scheduled for September 10th, which is a Thursday. If the regulations are changed, because it may be that the regions are going to change the regulations and allow us to have additional superintendent's conference days. If that's the case, we are also going to add September 10th and 11th as superintendent's conference days, and we will begin school on Monday, September 14th. That might be too much information for you right now, but you can count on September 10th as the first day of school, and if anything changes, I will get back to you about that. That is the Cliff Notes version of our preliminary reopening plan. So at this point, I need you to do one thing, which is think about, are you going to participate in-person learning or remote learning? I will send out the survey tomorrow. I will need your response as soon as possible, and I appreciate your attention. And I really hope I can see you all again very soon. I know you will have a lot of questions. If you do, I'm going to send out the survey, and you will be able to ask me any questions that you have. Okay, so thank you all very much for your attention.